President, thank you very much. I'm proud of the fact that your president hails from my home county. He's well respected, highly respected, well liked, of course, there as well as with you. So I'm proud to call the president my neighbor because he does a great job for this organization, as I'm sure all of you agree. Well, it's good to be with you again. Glad to have you back in town. We sort of arranged a nice weather welcome for you to remind you of home, more or less. This has been one of the toughest winters that I've seen, and I'm sure you too. I hope that you breathed a sigh of relief when we finished that farm bill. There's some things about it that I don't like, some things about it I do like, but the most important thing is you got a 5-year bill, the certainty of a 5-year bill. And so as you learn more about it as we go along here, we stand ready to try to help smooth out any difficulties that bill may pose for you or some of you. As you know, a lot of the work that I do here anymore deals with our yearly appropriations process. And if you've been watching, you know that in the last couple of years, this has not been an easy task because we were trying to cut spending. And most of the federal spending, as you know, is the entitlements, the mandatory programs. If you qualify for food stamps, you get them. We don't appropriate that money. It just comes out of the Treasury. Veterans pensions, Medicare, Medicaid, retirement pensions, and all, interest on the debt. All of those things are automatic takeouts from the federal Treasury, to the extent that we only appropriate a third of federal spending. We actually go through the bills and pass funding for the government only to a point of a third of federal total spending. Now that's changed dramatically in the last years. When I came here 34 years ago, entitlements were 1/3. We appropriated 2/3. Now it's just the reverse. And you can't change that entitlement spending unless you change the law. And so far the Congress has not had the spine to tackle these programs. But we're going to have to because they're eating us alive fiscally. If you struck out every penny we spend for the military, for the Border Patrol, for the National Park Service, Department of Agriculture, everything the government spends money for, if you zeroed out all of that, including national defense, you'd still be in the red every year. And Senator Paul's right. We are borrowing money like it's going out of style. However, since I've been chairing the Appropriations Committee, we've cut that appropriated part of the government by some $200 billion. We've actually cut spending over the last 3.5 years, which is more than has happened since the Korean War. But still, we're being swamped with bills, debt, because of the entitlements and the mandatory spending. So that's what we've got to address. I don't have an answer for you today, but at least we're going to keep cutting where we can. My partner on the Senate side in the negotiations that passed that $1 billion bill, which funded the government for all of this current year, Senator Barbara Mikulski from Maryland, a real working partner that we determined at the outset that we were going to get a bill together and put it on the floor and let people have a pot shot at it. And that's exactly what we did. And she deserves a lot of the credit for getting that done. Now we've got our first hearings on the fiscal 15 bills today. The first day of the hearings for fiscal 15 is at 10 o'clock. We've got, guess what? We've got the head of the IRS. And I can't wait to get there. So he'll be the first guinea pig they put out there. And we want to question how he has spent our money and if he's going after these conservative groups, because they are conservative. We're going to find that out and take appropriate action. Now, have you ever heard of the thing called the EPA? They got to be the most brazen bunch of bureaucrats that I've ever encountered, even worse than the IRS. But we've had a chance to chew on them too. We've cut their budget in the bill that I spoke to you about that we passed in January. We were able to cut another $143 million from their budget, which I hope will slow their advance into work on the farm and businesses. And since I chaired this committee, we've cut them about twice that amount. And they've had to lay off a lot of people. And I've been happy to go down there and watch them walk out. Because that agency is absolutely out of control. Even the Supreme Court, as you know, right now, is having a hearing, hearing arguments on a case against the EPA for going well beyond their authority. Ed Whitfield, who chairs the committee in the House that deals with this type of thing, has been going after them tooth and tongue. And I'm sure he may want to mention that when he gets up here to speak, but he's done a whale of a job in trying to rein in the EPA, because they have absolutely, as you know, done away with coal mining, at least in my part of Kentucky, in the hills. It's been the EPA and others who have tried to shut them down, and it's working, unfortunately. We've lost 8,000 miners in my district alone in the last 18 months. And we've not seen the last of it yet. So we've got our work cut out for us up here. But the important thing for me and us today is to hear your concerns and to try to respond to them as we meet with you in separate groups perhaps later. I'm going to have to go to a meeting at 9 o'clock. And then our hearing, the first hearing with the Commissioner of IRS is at 10, which I'll need to go to for at least a while. And then, as you know, I normally do a tour of the Capitol building for my constituents and anybody else that wants to come along. And we'll do that at 10:30. And the staff will lead you in the right direction. So I'll meet up with you at 10:30 for the tour of the Capitol building. It's for my constituents, but many times we have others that tag along, and we welcome you to be with us if you'd like. It'll last probably an hour or so. But you can't get outside anyway, so join us in this tour. It's wonderful to see all of you. I cherish the time that you're here every year. This is one of the highlights of the year for us members, because we get a chance to visit with people watching us work. So we want to hear from you. Tell us what you think we need to know, and we'll see you along the trail. God bless.